If you are a training professional who's working for a software or tech company, you know there's a big difference between what your training organization does and what's done by others from almost every other industry. For one, you're putting a lot of effort into training customers and partners, not just employees. And there's a big difference, right? There's also a good chance that your company is growing rapidly, and as a result, you're seeing signs that you've outgrown your learning management system. I'm Gordon Johnson from Expertus, and for the next few minutes, we're going to go through the top 6 most common signs that we see that you've outgrown your LMS, and see how many of these apply to you. So let's get started with number 6. As a software company, you're probably generating revenue from your software training. And so as a profit center, you have to have the absolute most advanced e-commerce in order to make it easier for your customers to buy your products. That's a pretty simple one, right? Another, probably even more complex one, is as a software company, you're probably training people outside of the United States, and languages are extremely important. Localizing your LMS for those different regions is important too, and of course don't forget the taxes, which is very related to the e-commerce as well that we just talked about. Another thing is you're probably, as a growing software company, you probably started out just doing a little bit of LMS administration, right? When you first started, when you only had, say, 500 or so users who were taking your training, it was fairly easy to keep track of that. But the more you grow, the more you need to automate that training. You need to automate that administration. So that's extremely important for you. Now, the next thing is probably when you first started out as a company or early on in your company's stage, you purchased an LMS that's either a homegrown LMS or an LMS that's built for a small company. And now that you've grown, you're starting to find the gaps of that. And maybe some of the gaps that we've looked at already. It may be that the e-commerce or languages or whatever it may be. But another thing that we're seeing a lot of is as the years go by, those training companies that were doing great, those LMS companies that started out and sold you an LMS many years ago, are getting out of the business because it's frankly a very competitive business. And so they've either stopped innovating on their product or they stopped supporting you altogether, or they've told you that we're only going to support our product for another year or so, and so you might want to start looking for another one. Now, the next thing is your brand. Now, as a software company or tech company, your brand is so important to you in regards to how the product looks, how your software product looks and how it acts. It's also important that the LMS that you use reflects well on your brand and makes your brand look good as opposed to actually hurting your brand. Because when you think about it, when learners come in to register for a class or to find training on your LMS or whatever it may be, they're thinking that they're using your product. And so the LMS is actually an extension of your software product or the technology that you offer. So if it's not usable, if it doesn't look good, or if it doesn't look like your brand, it's going to hurt you. Now, the last thing, and probably the most important thing, and kind of almost a summation of all these things that we've talked about already, is when you start hearing learners complaining. Either they're complaining about the LMS being too slow because it can't scale up to the numbers that you have right now, or if it's about the e-commerce doesn't work, or it's not easy to buy a class, or it's not in the languages that they have, or whatever it may be, or it doesn't do mobile learning, and so they can't train on their device, on their Apple or Android device or whatever it may be. That's a big problem if learners are complaining, but a bigger problem is actually if they're not buying. And if you're training your channel partners, if you're training your customers, there's probably a good chance that they're not going to complain about the training. They're just not going to buy it, and they're going to go elsewhere for the training. So those are my top 6 things that we've learned as an LMS company over the years, because we have companies that come to us probably every week that have outgrown their LMS, and this is generally what we're hearing them say. And so they're looking for an enterprise LMS, and that's what ExpertusONE is. So if you'd like to contact us, we'd love to hear from you. Love to do an evaluation of your current LMS and your current training programs to see whether you need to move to a bigger, more enterprise class LMS. So please contact me, Gordon J. at expertus.com, or contact us at Expertus, of course. Our toll-free number is right there, and you can also visit our website at expertus.com. So thank you for spending some time with me this morning, and we will talk to you soon.